meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering, they're cheering, and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball club, the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell! Give 'em a hand!
You are now watching the Amazing Mets PreGame Show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets PreGame Show right here on the channel. Once again, rolling solo today as Chris is working his way back from all his traveling and vacation. Lucky him, and he'll be back and better than ever tomorrow and for the foreseeable future for talking about our New York Mets. The Mets are back to 500 after a comeback victory in the ninth inning, winning 3-2 as they gave up the lead, as Diaz gave up a 2 RBI hit in the eighth inning, and the Mets came right back, a couple of great at-bats to keep the inning going, and then Francisco Lindor with the 2-out, 2 RBI base hit to give the Mets the lead 3-2, and then Edwin comes back into the ninth inning and closes it out for the Mets victory to take the last 2 games of the series, and today they have the opportunity to take 3 out of 4 against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it would be a 5-3 road trip. And guess what, guys? 5-3 road trip on the road, not bad at all. And you come back home and you face the Nationals, you face the, I believe it's the Nationals, right? Nationals, Rockies, one of those teams. You face one of those teams when you come back home and you take care of business before the All-Star break. Listen, guys, yesterday was a frustrating day, right? We had a lot of back and forth discussing bad move, right move, perfect move, terrible move. At the end of the day, it ended up working out. And regardless if it was a bad move or a good move, and the majority of you thought it was a bad move, so I understand when it came to putting Diaz in and taking Nunez out in the eighth with 2 outs, it worked. It could have been a disaster, but it worked out somehow, some way. And look, the Mets still find ways to win, regardless of the bullpen, regardless of the lack of offense that we seen yesterday. We got the big hits when we needed them, and that's the important part, right? We're winning in low-scoring, close games. The bullpen, even though it's slowly coming back, you see it's forming a little bit better now with Diaz back and Nunez kind of like the setup man. You got Reed Garrett, who's just a damn workhorse, and a lot of people were very, very concerned about Garrett pitching so many pitches in 2 days, and he's not going to be available today. There's a good chance Diaz is not available today. And probably Nunez, who knows? But we have a big start from Christian Scott today, is that, you want him to go 6 innings, but you see what happens after he gets to that 6th inning. He kind of, starts to mess up a tad, but we're going to need him to go at least 6 innings today because a lot of bullpen arms are not available. Yes, you're going to see Ottavino. Yes, you're probably going to see you're probably going to see you're going to see the B bullpen arms today, not the A bullpen arms today, obviously. So it's going to be a tough one today. You got Mitch Keller on the mound for the Pirates. He's been pitching well for the Pirates. The Mets have trouble in this series. Let's be honest. With Skeens, even though the Mets hit a couple of balls hard, they really didn't do much. And the last 2 games, they struggled a little bit, but they found a way to win the ball games, and that's what you got to do, right? Let's see if Christian Scott can bounce back because that 3-run homer he gave up messed up that good performance he was having. And hopefully he bounces back against the Pirates. But, this is such an important game because if you lose today, you end up 4-4 on the road trip. And even though 500 is fine on the road, when you kind of are in this back to 500, under 500, game over 500, back to 500, at some point you got to start getting a couple of games over 500 here. And taking 2 steps forward or 1 step back isn't really going to get you far. It'll keep you in the mix, but you don't just want to be in the mix. You want to get that wild card spot. And, we got a couple of weeks until the trade deadline, about 3 weeks until the trade deadline. We got 6 more games, I believe, until the All-Star break. And it would be nice if we could finish up the remaining games of the All-Star break and have a nice record and be at least 2 games over 500 when the All-Star break happens. And then we can really talk about 2 weeks before the deadline. What are the Mets going to do? Are they going to get more bullpen help? Are they going to trade some starting pitching to get more bullpen help? Or so many different ways they're going to look to add to this team because they will be adding to this team. Regardless of how they do it, of trading prospects away or trading starting pitching for bullpen or whatever they're going to do, if they're going to continue to remain in the mix within 2 games of a wild card or even closer or in a wild card spot, they're going to be buyers. Now, we can debate on what type of buyers. Are they going to be big-time buyers, mediocre buyers, in-between buyers? It's really going to depend on what David Stearns is willing to do. And I don't think he's going to jeopardize the future, but he's also not going to jeopardize 2024. He is not going to allow this team, or let me put it this way, he is not going to say over and over again earlier in the season where he believed in this team, he thinks they can be a playoff team, and they fight back being 11 games under 500, fight back into the mix, get back to 500, and now are in the wild card mix and not put some added bullets on this team to help them out when they proved that they can fight back. They actually have heart. They got some balls between their legs, and they show that they are going to fight as much as possible, and they need a little bit of reinforcement, which is fine. Every team's going to need reinforcement who are a good team. There's every team in baseball who is going to be contending for a playoff spot is definitely going to try to buy and add and put some reinforcements on that team, and the Mets are no different. So I really doubt David Stearns is either going to stay pat or stick with the plan. I think there was a plan in the beginning of the season where there's a pretty good chance that the Mets are going to sell at the deadline, right? But because the way the team has played and where they are at this point, plans change, and that's okay. And David Stearns probably had another option if the Mets are contending for a playoff spot, and he probably has a plan B for that, and that's okay. We can deal with that. But right now, it's more important to continue to keep this trend up, right? People, because we lost 3 in a row, everybody was going, oh, this team is over. This team is going to die. This team, oh, there it goes. Here comes the other shoe dropping. Not the case. They're still in this month and a half stretch where they're still playing good baseball, right? They've been winning more than they've been losing, right? Yeah, the 3-game losing streak kind of sucked, but we also got right back on the hinge and got 2 games in a row to stop the streak. And that's the other important thing we have to realize as well, right? They're not having extended losing streaks. 2-game losing streaks, it's not even a losing streak, but 2 games in a row sucked. 3 games is kind of on the verge of, okay, here comes a streak, right? 3 games is a losing streak. 3 games in a row of winning is a winning streak, right? You got to try to stop it at 3. 2 would be nice, but definitely stop it at 3. The Mets did that. So if you're winning more games than you're losing, it's obviously going to benefit the Mets, right? This ain't rocket scientist. I'm not trying to explain to you guys what's going on here. You guys know, right? So the thing that I still get upset about with a lot of Mets fans, and it's kind of annoying. We saw it on X when the Mets went through their 3-game losing streak a couple of days ago. It was like Armageddon. Like the end of the world happened. Like the end of the season was there when this team has showed you, yes, they were the hottest team in baseball. They're going to lose a few games. They can't be red hot forever. It's almost impossible. Yet they're still winning games. They're still winning or at least splitting series, which isn't going to hurt or isn't really going to hurt you. It's going to keep you in that mix. And listen, I want to get a couple of games over 500. It seems like getting that 2 games above 500 or more seems to be the issue. Once they get the 1 game over 500 or 2 games over 500, they cannot get over that hump. They gotta get over that hump, because I think it's probably going to be 3 or 4 games over 500 to get at least the 3rd wild card spot. Because as the Braves have been playing well against the Phillies, the Mets aren't that far away from the Braves either. And I bring only the Braves up, not because the Mets are going to catch the Braves or the Mets are better than the Braves. We know they're not, at least record-wise. But we have 10 more games against the Atlanta Braves. Those games is like getting 2 games in the standings. You get the win, and you also get that loss out of that loss column, and you get much closer. So it's like 2 games every time you beat the Braves. So if you get within 4 games of, because I think the last time I checked, there were 5 games from the Braves. If you get within 4 games or even 3 games of the Braves, while you play them right after the All-Star break, not too long after the All-Star break, that series is going to be so important, because if you have a really good series against them, you could be within a game of the Braves. And it's not about catching the Braves. You want to catch the 3rd wild card, because that's how you get into the playoffs, right? But the 3rd and 2nd wild card are obviously in play. The Mets are 2 games and 2.5 out of the 2nd and 3rd wild card. And I believe they're 4.5 or 5 games out of the 1st wild card with the Atlanta Braves. So it's talked about now, because the Braves did come back to earth. They didn't play well for a month when the Mets were red hot. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but when you're playing that team that's in front of you, right? We're not playing the Padres anymore. We're not playing the Cardinals more than 3 games anymore, right? You got 10 games against the Braves. Those games are going to be so freaking important because of the fact you can jump over or at least get into a wild card spot. You might not get to the 1st wild card spot, but you might bump the Braves and might be in that 2nd wild card spot and, push people back. And that's the important thing. You want to get some room. You want to be within that 2nd, 1st wild card. So you have some room just in case you struggle a little bit for a week and, you can still remain in that wild card. And I think it's important to realize and understand that it's not impossible, because a month ago, we were 10 games behind the Braves, and we cut that in half over a month. And then we're starting to play them over the next couple of months a lot. So that 10 games against the Braves could mean a hell of a lot. Yes, you still got to win the other games, and you want to get a couple of games over 500. But that Braves game is like when you face those Braves teams, games in a series, it's like 2 games if you lose or win. And that's why those games are going to be important. But right now, it's about Pittsburgh and Mitch Keller, right? The Mets are better than the Pirates. I don't think they're very good. They got some solid, hell of a good pitching, but their offense, you see that they can be dealt with if you pitch them the right way, right? For some reason, they have a hard time catching up the fastballs. They hit a lot of the breaking balls of this within this series against the Mets. So if I'm Christian Scott, and he got away from this in his last start against the Nationals. They couldn't touch his fastball. And for some reason, whoever was dealing with the pitching, if it was the catcher, if it was Alvarez or Torrens, or was it Scott, they got away from his fastball. And the Nationals couldn't touch it. He started to throw more breaking balls, and it sped up their bat. And it seemed like that's when they started to get a handle of him. And this is what he can't do today. He's got to rely on that fastball. The breaking stuff and the off-speed pitches, of course, you're going to use. But rely on your fastball. Your fastball is your best pitch. use it. The Pirates aren't a good fastball hitting team. They're very good with their breaking stuff and off speed pitches. It speeds up their bats. Besides O'Neal Cruz, he's the only one that really can catch up to these fastballs. It seemed like they couldn't catch up to any fastball, and they were catching up to sliders. They were speeding up their bats with the sliders and other off speed pitches and breaking pitches. He's got to rely on that fastball. You need that strikeout. Don't try to play games and hang a slider like you did in the last game you pitched. Use that fastball. Keep it letter high. They have a hard time catching up to it, and that's what Christian Scott is going to do. So the Mets lineup for today: Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Alvarez, Pete Alonso, Mark Vientos, Luis Torrens, Jose Iglesias, Harrison Bader, and Jeff McNeil. I do like this lineup. Obviously, JD Martinez is getting a day off. He's been struggling. I think he's 0 for his last 14. Give him a day off. Let him relax. You got Alvarez's bat in the lineup. You got Torrens as the catcher, so you get Alvarez off his feet, and he's still got that bat in the lineup. So I do like 1 through 5, actually, with Vientos, number 5. And look, Torrens, I know he had a bad at-bat, taking 3 strikes, basically right down the middle, but he's still been very good with the bat for us. Iglesias is just a badass. Harrison Bader came into the game, did what he had to do, keeping the inning alive. And Jeff McNeil is batting 9th, so we'll see what he can do there, and he's playing right field. But what about the at-bats from Iglesias and Bader to turn that the in and around here, to keep it going, and to get Francisco Lindor up with that 2 big RBIs in the 9th inning to give the Mets the win? That was huge, right? We can talk about the Lindor at bat all we want. That was a clutch hit right there. But Iglesias is at bat and Bader's at bat. Iglesias with the walk and Bader with the base hit. Man, that is exactly how to put pressure on a guy like Chapman that we've seen many, many times before, who gets wild, who gets flustered on the mound when things aren't going his way, and the Mets took full advantage of that. And Lindor with the base hit to left field, bringing in those 2 RBIs, and Mets win the ball game with Diaz coming back in the night and showing why he is still a dangerous guy in that bullpen and our closer. Let me see. Is Taylor hurt or something? I don't know. I mean, was he the one that? Oh no, that was Bader that ran into the wall. But I'm trying to think. You know what it is? I think because Bader's red hot right now. McNeil, I think they want to put him in right field. I think they want to still get him at bats here. And Nimmo's red hot, so we're really going to put him right. You can switch Taylor with McNeil. That would have been fine. But I still think they want to get McNeil at bats after during the All-Star before the All-Star break. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry about that. Before the All-Star break, I think they want to showcase McNeil, right? And he's batting 90. He's not doing much at all, but I think that's what they're trying to do, to be quite honest with you. Easy, can Alonso come to the party? I hope so. Man, you know what it is? We're doing this with Alonso not even being red hot. Now, we talked about this yesterday in the chat, right? His numbers don't look bad. They're fine, but we don't need Alonso to be fine. We need him to be one of the best players on this team, and he's not right now. And during this stretch, right, his numbers have been fine when the Mets have been red hot. He's been fine, but he hasn't been peak Alonso when he's red hot and you can't get him out, where he's driving the ball to right center and hitting the ball the other way with power, right? You're not seeing that right now, and that's the thing that worries me about Pete Alonso, because I don't know if the contract's in his head. I don't know. He got elected to the All-Star game. Great. He don't deserve it. It was Nimmo or Lindor, a bolt. Got kind of robbed because Lindor and Nimmo has been the 2 best Mets players overall when it comes to position player defense and offense. Them 2 guys have been outstanding. They deserve to go to the All-Star game, not Pete Alonso. But it is what it is. You know how weird and rigged this voting crap is with the All-Star game. But it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. Just keep on doing what they're doing and it'll be fine. But yeah, the Mets have been doing a lot of this winning and a lot of this month and a half where they're going through their streak of their hot streak. Alonso really hasn't been in the middle of it. He's been fine, as Easy said and I said. He's been, serviceable and been good enough to not really put the eyes glaring on him and the spotlight on him, but he hasn't been great. Lindor, Nimmo, and Martinez and Vientos has been red hot. I know Martinez has cooled off a little bit, but those guys have been basically carrying his team. Alonso's had his big hits here and there, but he still hasn't been. Peak Alonso hasn't even happened yet. If that happens and Alonso, you can't get Alonso out, that's when you're really, really, really going to see this lineup get to another level, because it's already at a really good level right now. And they were scoring over 6.5 runs per game. And that was with Alonso not doing very much at all, or even peak Alonso. If Alonso can do that and these guys are still remaining at the top of the order hitting, man, this team's going to be very hard to beat. Even though they're already hard to beat now, they're going to be almost unstoppable offensively. Now, yes, the starting pitching, yes, the bullpen could mess up some things, but the offense has been really outstanding. And it's amazing how good this team has been over the last month and a half. And they technically cooled off. They got kind of lukewarm over this road trip, but they've still been good. Like, they could have won. Like, they should have won that third game in Washington, and we can be talking about a 6-2 road trip instead of a 5-3 road trip. And that would be even more outstanding. And we already be over 500, talking about getting a couple of games over 500. But you can't change the past. You got to worry about the future, and that's what the Mets are going to do right now. So we're playing game 89 of the season, guys. We are three months are in the books. April, May, and June are in the books. We're in month 4, and it is trade deadline month. 3 weeks until the trade deadline. Right during the All-Star break and through the trade deadline, over those 2.5 weeks, we're going to do a ton of Mets hot stove video shows. We're going to do Mets trade rumor videos, Mets, all types of crazy stuff, whatever information and news and some type of rumors we're going to get. It's going to be live. We're going to have videos with my channel, Chris's channel, heck, all over the place. But Mets hot stove is going to be front and center over the next couple of weeks once the All-Star break hits. And we're really going to get into what is available, what arms are available for the Mets bullpen that they can trade for. Who is available? Are they going to trade starting pitching? Are they going to get another bat? I know that's crazy to think, but it might be, a two-player deal where you get back a bullpen arm and a bat and maybe switch that with McNeil and maybe a star. Who knows? There's so much we can talk about, and that's why we're going to have Mets Hot Stove once the All-Star break hits and be ready to go. Steve, yeah, I agree. His strikeouts has to cut down. Absolutely. But it's not even about the strikeouts, right? Everybody freaking strikes out. It seems like every power hitter, every good hitter strikes out over 200 times. It's not even just the strikeouts. It's just the bad at-bats with people on base. Even if he doesn't strike out, he rolls it over to third base or, pops it up, right? He doesn't drive in those runs. And I've said this a lot. Where is the Pete Alonso that hits that ball into the gap of runners on base and drives in too, right? It's either a home run or he gets out. And a lot of times when he hits those home runs, it's not with people on base or the game's out of reach. Either the Mets are winning by a lot or they're losing by a lot. It's been a lot of that this year. And that's been a lot of Pete Alonso's career, by the way. Like, people don't want to look at it, but it's a fact. His clutch numbers are not good. Are they bad? No. But when you're expecting a guy to make between $150 and $200 million, you need to be better. And this is why when people kill Francisco Lindor, the numbers don't lie. Lindor is clutch as hell, right? Hector, a couple of weeks ago on the roundtable, when Lindor is putting up his numbers and doing well and hitting, the Mets win more than when Pete Alonso is hitting. So Pete Alonso hitting and doing his job isn't enough to help the Mets win. But when Lindor does it, the Mets are winning. So it's kind of a weird dynamic, right? It's not that Pete Alonso's a bad player. We know he's not, right? Is he a superstar? No. Is he a star? Yeah, he's probably borderline star, right? I think he's more of a glorified power hitter and he's not becoming more of an average guy. Like, he's a 250 career hitter. But, to really get him to the next level, he needs to bat 270 or more. And I don't know if he can do that consistently enough, right? The home runs are going to be there, and that's going to lead to more RBIs, right? But it's when he hits a lot of those home runs that really aren't in the spots we really need him. Like yesterday, we didn't need a home run yesterday. We needed a base hit. He couldn't get that. And that happens way too often. If he doesn't hit the ball over the fence, he doesn't provide enough flair on the offensive side to drive in those runs. And it doesn't seem like it happens a lot. I'm telling you, I always see it a lot of times, and nobody wants to really talk about it. He hits a lot of his home runs and gets a lot of his RBIs in basically blowout games, in games that don't matter, or games that the Mets are basically out of it, and then he produces like crazy, and nobody wants to talk about it, right? We always talked about Lindor padding his stats, but nobody wanted to talk about Pete Alonso. A lot of Met fans were not happy that Pete Alonso made the All-Star game, right? All of a sudden, Met fans are starting to turn a little bit on Pete Alonso, and it's about time. Because if he really wanted to be a Met, he might have took a contract already, right? And I still don't believe. I already said this. The Mets might want him back at a price. I don't think Pete Alonso wants to be back. I said that prior to the season, and I've said that over the last couple of months of the season. That's just my opinion. I think the first contract he gets that looks very appealing, even if the Mets match it, I don't think he's coming back. That's just my opinion. Met fans can kill me and are thinking I'm crazy, but that's a fact for me. Well, Steven, I hate on Pete because everybody believes that, I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. Lindor is not the face of the franchise. He wasn't the face of the franchise. Pete Alonso is the face of the franchise. All right? Pete Alonso sells the most jerseys. Pete Alonso is what everybody talks about. He's the polar bear, all this other stuff. He is the face of the franchise. He was the face before Lindor got here, and even when Lindor got here, Lindor is always going to be an outcast. Now, you want to say Lindor is the leader? Sure. But the face of the franchise is Pete Alonso. It was Jacob deGrom. It's Pete Alonso, right? You can't make excuses for Pete Alonso because he's the face of the franchise and not give him criticism. When everybody can criticize Lindor, they can criticize everybody else. But when it comes to Pete Alonso, everybody backs off. And it's annoying because don't criticize everybody else and then leave out Pete Alonso. That's stupid because he deserves criticism this year. He does. Has he been terrible? No. He's been good. But do we need Pete Alonso to be good, or we need him to be a badass son of a bitch? That's what we need him to be. We need him to be badass Pete Alonso. I'm not saying 2019 crazy Pete Alonso, but could he give me 2022 Alonso? I don't know. I just don't know. And listen, do I want to keep Pete Alonso? Absolutely. I think he brings something to this team that I like. But at what cost? Could you do better? You probably can't, but that doesn't mean you can't use another position to get that type of production, or at least two players to provide that production in your lineup. And it's not saying that I don't think Pete Alonso deserves a big contract. He does. But I don't think he should get $200 plus million. If he gets that, the Mets are stupid to give him. Sorry, it is. Yeah, and what was that? What was that, like in May sometime? I don't even remember. But look, the fact of the matter is, Pete Alonso does have another level to his offensive game. We haven't seen it this year yet. Now, is it the pressure of the contract? Possibly. But we need him to get to that level. We need that Pete Alonso, you can't get me out, Pete Alonso. Because with Lindor playing well, Nimmo and Lindor have been their best players all around. All around. Vientos is right behind them. Right? Alvarez have been good. But if Pete Alonso gets going like 1 through 5, it's almost impossible to pitch. And the bottom of the order has been doing their job. With Iglesias and Bader and Torrens. They've been doing their job. Pete Alonso gets to that next level that we know we can get to. This team can really be unstoppable. And it's frustrating because we know what Pete Alonso can do. But do it in bigger spots. Do it in bigger spots and clutcher spots. Right? I don't care. You hit that solo home run, great. And then he hits a 3-run bomb when the Mets are up by 6. Like, I mean, it kills me to say it, but I'm not lying to you guys. You guys see it. If some don't want to admit it, that's on you guys. But it's obvious. Yesterday was a terrible at-bat from Pete Alonso. He had an opportunity to drive in and run to get the Mets to lead. He didn't do it. He grounded at third base. Frustrated. And it's not like he's struggling. He's playing. He's been okay. But come on, Pete. Like, you got to get the base hit there, right? I'm telling you, he doesn't drive in the runs if it's not home runs. It's rare. And when he does, it's either when the Mets are ahead or by a lot, or they're trailing by a lot, or it's in the late summer months going into September where the Mets are irrelevant and there's no pressure. But we'll see how it goes. The game's about to start, guys. The Mets are 44-44, 500, looking to get a game over 500 and head back home. 5-3 on the road trip, and that's where we're going to be. We're going to have Christian Scott on the mound, Mitch Keller, another good pitching performance, another good pitching matchup on the mound for both teams today. Mitch Keller has been extremely good for the Pirates. Mets have been hitting good pitching, not as late, but they still have been during this long stretch. Let's see what they can do. I really like this lineup tonight. I know some people are complaining about McNeil, but I really like the lineup. I like keeping Alvarez's bat in the lineup, batting him third, getting JD off his feet as he's been struggling a little bit. Terrence, it was a terrible at bat from Terrence, but I really do think that Luis Terrence has been really exceptional as a backup, and when he gets playing time, he hits. So 1 through 8 right now looks really damn good. And it's going to be very hard for Mitch Keller to get through this lineup. Let's see if the Mets can get the series win, take 3 out of 4, 5-3 on the road trip. Once again, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Amazing Mets pregame show. I will be doing a post game after the game. Before you leave the pregame, once the stream ends, it's going to redirect you to the post-game stream. Hit on that like button early, guys, so we can get more people in the stream for the post-game to talk about, hopefully, a Mets win. With that said, love you guys. Always appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Monday afternoon to watch our Mets baseball, matinee baseball on getaway day for the New York Mets. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy the game. I'll see you at the post-game. Let's go, Mets. See you next time, guys. Have a great day.
And let them know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kitty